Hey, how you doing today? Thank you for joining. Please subscribe, like, and just follow us, okay? Today we're going to be talking about some important thing that we need to know. And one of the thing, if you can see it on your screen, it says, "Do not be afraid." That is a reassurance. That is something that we need in this time of that is so critical in our lives. So to be afraid, what does that mean? To be afraid is to feel a feeling of fear or anxiety or threatening, according to an Oxford dictionary. But let's look some of the things that make us to be frightened or to be afraid. But for instance, if you are working on the sidewalk and see this bulldog coming unchained, just coming towards you, what are you gonna do? You'll be frightened. You'll be afraid because it's not protected. It's just on the lows. So you can hear people saying, I'm afraid of dogs. I'm afraid of dogs. Yes, to be afraid is a natural thing how we respond to perceived threat. It is something that everyone face. So we are threatened by things and we perceive there's a threat coming in. So we try to take preventive measure to be safe. So when you look to the west, you look to the east, you look to the south, there's fear on the horizon. There's fear. Which place is safe for us to go? War in the west, war in the east, trouble everywhere, in the house, looking at the bills, looking what will happen tomorrow. You have a loved ones who are sick, are they be diagnosed with com- uh, chronic diseases? What is the survival rate? So if you look around, we are all faced with fear. And because of that, it creates a lot of anxiety to us. So look at it. What really triggers fear? So there's a large or wide range of factors and which can vary from person to person. Sometimes what can make me to be afraid is not the thing that will make you to be afraid, to be sincere. Some person can be scared of dogs, while some people love dogs. They are not scared of it. Some people can be scared or frightened by insects, roaches, mosquito. They too they be scared, but some people it doesn't have any effect to them. So it varies in terms of persons and individual. But let's look at it now. Some major things that make us to be afraid is something that will cause us physical harm, a threat to safety and security. We will be afraid if you perceive that there's a threat to your physical safety or emotional well-being that can make you to be afraid. You can say, wow, this is it, I'm going to die. I can give you an example. There was this driver, he has a lot of passengers in his car, and as they were driving along the highway, there was a truck that was coming in the same direction. It just came in, coming face to face, just like a collision. So everybody was screaming, is this the end of our lives? People were crying. People were finding a way to escape. The driver was trying to calm people. But looking at the impact that this trailer is going to have with this car, there were like a few seconds or minutes away to collide. But there's a lady that was in that car. She couldn't resist and she jumped through the window. As she jumped through the window, guess what? The accident did not occur. There was automatic brake, there was a reverse driver control, and everybody was safe. But the lady that jumped through the window did not survive. She was crushed. Another vehicle ran over her. That can see what the level of fear can do. It can take you to a different level. So be aware. So all of us have this fear in us. It's a natural or normal way to give us to perceive a threat coming to us. So we do have that. So such a physical stress or emotional stress can trigger our fear. So being in a danger or traumatic experience and things of the past can also make you to be vulnerable. Because for instance, if you have been abused as a man or as a woman when you were young, and that's have actually stopped you not to having a relationship further. So you decide, okay, at this time, I'm not going to be in any relationship. And later on, you find a guy trying to come to you, being nice, and you begin to wonder, this is gonna be the same person, the same way I was treated 6 years ago, 5 years ago. This guy came in so nice, and at the end, it was a disaster. So those traumatic experience can make you to think that this relationship that you're going into is going to be abusive. And that because of that, you're afraid to take the next step. So, but we're saying to you now, don't be afraid. I may not be the person to say it, right? But it is the best person, the greatest person in the universe said, do not be afraid. And we're going to learn about that, why we should not be afraid of things that are destined to occur. Some of these things that we're going to see today, that we see today, are things that we continue to see. It's a natural thing and it's going to be there. So it varies how we take on things. Because some people can be afraid of little things, some people can be afraid of greater things. So also, um, uncertainty and unknown things can make us to be afraid. So sometimes we don't expect certain things to happen to us, and it did, or some news we never expected, and we can receive a letter, we can receive some news, and we feel devastated, and that can make us to be afraid. And how do we cope with that? And that can cause unnecessary anxiety, and then it can also hinder our future or the way we respond. We mentioned before that past experiences also can be something that can make us to be afraid of the future, of the present, because we have a lot of experience before, and when we ever think about that past experience, it's gonna resurface again. So wow, or you have somebody, or you were duped, or you were scammed, for instance, on a on a on a scheme that somebody said, "Oh, this scheme is good. You put some money here, and in 3 days or 5 days or 6 months or pyramids, you're gonna get more money. People were doing it, you do it, you invest on it, and some people greedily took your money and you lost a lot of money during that process. So in the future, if you have certain things, even an investment that will say, okay, put your money here. Like people are saying, oh, cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. People are afraid. No, people are still very comfortable with that because a lot of persons have lost a lot of money, and we have been hearing a lot of cases where the CEO or the founder of those Bitcoin or all those investments were arrested for fraud. So if you have a business to invest or that come like, oh, if you do this, you're gonna get some money. Believe me, you'll be scared. You'll be frightened. I will because I've lost some money before, and I'm very careful when you come with a business proposal trying to tell me, put this dollar here, do this, and then in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or 5 weeks, you're gonna get this money. Even though it's an investment or something, I'm still scared. That's what trading. So past experiences can also make you can trigger fear to you. So, am I gonna do this? Have you been in a relationship that was abusive? For 20 years, the guy was hitting you, treating you like a slave, or doing it every sort of things to you. So, having that mental breakdown, having that thinking, every time you think about it, you have some bombs coming up in your hair, your body. Saying, wow, I love this guy, but this way I was treated. You don't want to go. So you'll be thinking twice. You don't want to go into that relationship because of your past experience. Even though you're not living in the past, it doesn't mean you forget the past. Just let people know, say, people say, oh, you still living in the past. That's why you're not moving on. No, we remember the past. Sometimes the past make us who we are. The past can make you to be a better person. You can make more decisions based on your past situation. But dwelling and living in the past will be something that will hinder your progress to move forward. But you can always reflect on the past. Because whatever we read in the Bible are past things, are things that occurred before, but they are very useful and beneficial in our time because that's the reason why God preserved those words alive so that we can read it for our instruction and for our direction because those words are faithful and true. So we look at that, we see that our past experience tells a lot about us. So those are one of those things that also can trigger our fear, phobias, fear of some animals, fear of some individuals. So these things can be something that also can make us to be afraid. Separation and then loss. So fear of losing loved ones is, I don't know if you have ever lost someone, you understand that fear, or you seeing the person in sick bed and you don't want to lose that person. You are doing everything possible. You can be a different person. So that can trigger change you because everybody have lost someone they know as a friend or something. So sometimes if you have not lost someone, just be ready for one day it's going to happen. How you going to take care of that? But just remember, in these situations, you are not alone, and do not be afraid because someone have given us that confidence, that promise. Is a mention is a do not be afraid, and so we are holding up to that. And also experiencing rejection separation from something you hold dear, maybe your relationship. You've been married for 20, 40 years, and sometimes my wife said, okay, my husband said, well, we need to be separated. I don't want you anymore. I'm going to be alone by myself and everything. Just imagine you sleep together with this person, you lock the door, you pray, you do everything, you go to meetings, you do everything together with this man or this lady, and then tomorrow you say, let's go on our separate ways. So you begin to think the fear, begin to think about how can I go, how can I manage to live in this big house by myself, to this to do this thing by myself. You know, those are things that make you to feel emotional. So it is very important to recognize your targets, your triggers, and find helpful ways or healthy ways to cope with these fears. So as I said before, individuals matter. Uh, Different people have different things that trigger their fear, but generally, everybody physical threat is very is for everybody. Everybody gets prepared. They're afraid of you. Uh, the month of June to November is known as um, hurricane season, and during the hurricane season, there's a lot of work that's being put in place. There are disaster preparation, management, and meet together. The FEMA, they be training, preparing for this disaster. Year in, year out, it happens. So no matter the preparation cannot prevent the natural disaster that occurs. But to be aware is a protection. So they can take preventive measurement and measure to be safe. So that being said, if you have experienced such disaster, earthquakes, hurricane, so you know it's a regular thing. You know how to prepare when the time is coming, and you're hearing the announcement. You live in a low plain area. You want to take cover. You want to move to a different location because you're used to it. So you can definitely, even though you had a fear, and sometimes even though you're used to it, and let me say this: nobody is used to natural disasters. So you have experienced it. You cannot be saying I'm too used to it because sometimes it changes dimensions, the magnitude that it will be coming, the different system, because nobody can predict what kind of hurricane we're gonna get next year, this year. You don't even have the name yet, but start studying the names until it can be very, very powerful. It can be very destructive. So, but the major difference is that some persons who have never heard the word hurricane or earthquake, tsunami, anything in their life before, they get a prediction. 2 months from now, this region is going to have a massive tsunami. You're going to have a massive earthquake. You lived in that area over 50 years, or over 200 years, nothing have occurred in that area. You're going to sound like the end of the world because you're going to say, what? Like during the Noah's time, they live all their life, and Noah told the people that God is going to destroy the world with water. They never believed that. What? 40 days and 40 nights with rain? It was the music to the ear. It was like nothing. That's not true. Not going to happen. But until the water came and swept them all away. It was the worst ever they ever thinking about. So when you hear the announcement, this region is going to have a massive natural disaster, too much time. It have never happened before in this region or in this continent. What do you think the people that live there would be doing? Fear. They'd be afraid. What is the next step? What are we going to do? I'm going to go to this place. I don't have any other place to go. I was raised here. I have all of these things here. Some people will be thinking about their material things. I have this land, I have all these things. They're going to be like the wife of Lot too. And they're going to look back. So is that time to be thinking about all your possessions or the time to find a way to relocate, to escape? No, you say, okay, maybe it's not going to happen because science is prediction. You begin to stay. I hear the news again every day, every 15 minutes, the thing is coming closer. Is it going to be a massive destruction? Massive, massive. Every day you hear that. It keep coming, it keep coming. Then the fear will increase, right? You say, this is no joke. We have to take action. So it depends on you. What you're going to do during that time. So it is very important for us to take this into consideration because if we don't do it, the fear will grips us, will just tear us apart. So let us see the reassurance what we have about the fear. So, but do not be afraid. That's what we're talking about here. Do not be afraid about what is going to happen because things are going to be happening. Things that we never imagine. Crazy stuff. The world is confused too. There's fear everywhere. There's problem. But let us keep this reassurance from God and say, do not be afraid and see how our life is going to be. Just test it out. But let's look now to this man. There's somebody I really want to talk about so that we can learn from there. There's this man, perhaps most of us will know the man, very famous, very well known. He was so powerful. And the man's name is King Nebuchadnezzar. So when we're talking about King Nebuchadnezzar, we may be talking about, oh, this man was so what? He was a king of Babylon. The man so put himself there is a supreme. During his time, you have to worship him. He has an image. Everybody must bow down to that image. He treated Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego for not bowing down to the image, and I want to put them into the furnace. Very, very hot, more than the oven hot. He wanted to die, but God rescued them. Was trying to show Nebuchadnezzar that you say you are powerful, you're not all that powerful than the creator. So Nebuchadnezzar was a very boastful man. He was so proud. In short, he boasted about his own strength and might and the glory of his majesty. So he boasted about, I am the most powerful. Who is your God? He was telling them, who is that God? Don't even mention his name. Even when Daniel and his companion was trying to talk to Nebuchadnezzar. He ignored them. So when we look at this man that was so elevated, so outrageous, proud, and so very unfriendly, very hostile, talking to God, who is God, who is this? And he failed to acknowledge his strength, that God is the one that deserves the praise. But instead, he was making himself the Almighty, the Supreme. So let's pause a little bit because when we're talking about this man, Nebuchadnezzar, we can get his full story in Daniel. How he boasted, Daniel chapter 4, verse 30. But Nebuchadnezzar was a man, right? But he was a king. Being a king at that time give you a lot of leverage. You are one of the most powerful person during that time. You do the undo. You have people that follow you. Do we have that similar characteristics of individual today? So let's just forget about that king. Do we have people who said, I am Nebuchadnezzar? Yeah, Nebuchadnezzar is everywhere. The man who have the authority as the head of the family, he says, shh, don't say anything. I am the man. What I say goes. Domineering, oppressive, and very uncaring. That is Nebuchadnezzar for you. Is he your CEO because he pay you? Say everything I say goes. You have to do this. If you don't do this, this is what you're gonna get. If you say anything back to me, I'm gonna give you condition. This is where you're gonna go. So we have a lot of Nebuchadnezzars. In the political setting, yeah, we're the greatest of all. I can oppress other nations, but I am the president of all the whole world. Everybody bow down to me. So that is Nebuchadnezzar's spirit, not acknowledging that your power has a limitation. Nebuchadnezzar never realized that. He was saying he was the only person that can do all of this. So King Nebuchadnezzar was taught a great lesson. So God give people to do what they want to do, to be proud. But the greatest thing that you can ever do to a big man or people who have power is to humiliate them. They hate that. The Bible says, he that humble himself will be exalted or elevated, but he that elevate himself will be humbled. If you exalt yourself, you're gonna be humbled. So this is what God did to him. God struck Nebuchadnezzar with insanity. Nebuchadnezzar was struck with insanity. Was insanity? It wasn't right. He's a madman. For years, 7 years, when the wilderness was there, a king, imagine, to say nobody is greater than you. Who is this God? But Nebuchadnezzar could not believe. Look at what he did. Nebuchadnezzar did after, if you look at Daniel chapter 4, verse 33 to 35, from there 33 there, this is what Nebuchadnezzar was doing when God struck him with insanity. If you see somebody doing that today, what will you say? This is a king, this powerful person, just like he's the president of everywhere, he's a great person. Look at what he was getting. If you look at that, he said, at that moment the word was fulfilled on Nebuchadnezzar. He was driven away from mankind. So he was not within a man, he was in a wilderness. He was taken away. Like a fugitive, was mad. He went to a different place. And he began to eat vegetation like bulls. He began to eat grass. You know that translation be grass. Vegetation. Like bulls, like cows, all those ones. That's what Nebuchadnezzar, the great man, the big king, everything was doing. Not only that, his body became wet with dew of the heavens until his hair grew long, just like eagle's feathers. His hair was so long, like the feather of an eagle's, and his nails were like bird crowns. So just imagine how humiliating that man, Nebuchadnezzar, was doing all these things. He was separated from mankind, he was in the wilderness, he was eating grass like cow, like bulls, not even for a day. Doing that for a seconds as a king or a most powerful person is humiliating. But for doing that for years, 7 years he was there, don't make a man. Show him. You put fear in these people that want to worship me. You treated them like nothing. You bring them problems to be afraid of you because of punishments you're going to give them. So people make you to be afraid of them, to put fear in you because they feel like you don't have no other solution. Let me tell you, the greatest thing somebody can do to you, the worst thing somebody can do to you is to kill you. Because somebody kill you, you don't feel anything again. Whatever it does to you, then there's no record for that. That's the greatest thing somebody can do to you. And in order to do that, some come in a way to put fear in you, to do a lot of things to even to make you to compromise. And that's what Nebuchadnezzar was doing, to make sure people suffered. And we have people today that are example of that. That's like, if you listen to your husband, if you don't come to work at 6 o'clock, you'll be fired because I own your bank. And then you'll be afraid if you lost your job, how will you pay your rent? How will you feed? How will you pay for your car loan? How will you do this? How will you do that? That fear of not displeasing your boss, even if saying you doing the wrong thing, will make you to do it. But but if we have the meta thinking and get this reassurance from God that do not be afraid, it will help us a lot. But let's see what the king do during Daniel time. Daniel was a man that loved to pray, talk to God every time. So the other persons there who said they are showing allegiance to the king said, lied and said, okay, Daniel is praying to a different God. He's not paying you attention. He's not showing allegiance. He's not doing anything. Every time he's praying. So the king now said, okay, you know what? Anytime, the only person you should be talking to is me, no other person. If anybody ever pray to a God they will be thrown into the lion's den. But the greatest privilege you got that no man can give to you is the communication, the relationship you have with God. If you draw close to God, God will draw close to you. So Daniel have this relationship and he preserve it. He like that inheritance. He doesn't want nobody to take it away. It was something that is so precious. And he said, no, I will not stop talking to my God. So because you don't need a cell phone, then there was no even cell phone. There was no any way you used to talk to anything. Now you say you're too busy not to pray for a day because there's no SIM card, no internet, no airtime, no phone that will prevent you. You need to talk to God. You don't have those, you don't need those things to talk to God. So you have you, your heart, talk to your father. You have that privilege. And David so valued that relationship, that precious gift. He said, no, I'm not going to let it go. I will continue talking to my God because I believe in Him. He has done a lot and He will not leave me. So Daniel was doing his regular prayer, and those other person came. Oh, they caught him, and what did he do? They throw him into the lion's den. They were happy, so happy, man. Two of them were so happy that oh, Daniel is already there. So you know what? You know, you know something that when somebody plans some evil or things towards you, is so anxious to see that you fall into that trap or say trap. So it will be like, yes, let me see. So this is what they did. So after they throw Daniel into the lion's den, they were very anticipating. They want to see that the lion have actually hit Daniel. So the next day, they was the first person to be there to go, oh wow, let me go and see. And they went there. Funny enough, they were so disappointed. They saw Daniel with the lions, nothing unharmed, even play with those lions. What a disappointment. Sometimes somebody may wish you bad and in 5 or 10 years later see you. He will be surprised. Oh, I thought this person could have been died, could have been dead by this time, or this person could have been crippled, or this person should be begging. But right now this person is successful. So sometimes people who wish you bad may end up seeing themselves in the bad predicament, in that same situation, and you'll be more better off. See, Daniel never compromised his faith, whatever he believed on. He continued to pray because he believed that somebody there that he have that faith in will never disappoint him. So those people that conspired against Daniel were thrown into the lion's den. Before they were thrown, before they landed, the lions cracked their bone. No pieces, they were carcasses. It was a food to them. So, you see, those things, people can create fear in you, make you to be afraid to lose your loyalty, to lose what you believe. But it's for you to say, who do I believe? Even though if I die, do that person, can they raise me back? No, only God. But look at what Nebuchadnezzar did. After passing through all those calamities, those insanity, those punishment, those things so humiliating, it came up. If you look at verse 34, it says, "At the end of the time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, look up to the heavens, and my understanding returned to me, and I praise the Most High, and to the one living forever, I gave praise and glory." Look how I said, after the end of that time, 7 years, Nebuchadnezzar said this, he now praised the Most High, and he's now acknowledged that he's the one living forever. But this way says, he continues, says, because his rulership is an everlasting rulership, and his kingdom is for generation after generation. Imagine what he said. He said, because God's rulership is everlasting rulership. So if you are a king, you are a president, you are a husband, you have a position, you are a CEO, whatever capacity you have, your position is limited. It's not forever. Even if you pass it to your generation, you're going to die. Other person going to take over. But most of the time, we don't realize that. We feel like we can punish somebody, we can make somebody's life miserable to our satisfaction, forgetting we're going to grow old, we're going to die too. And that is what Nebuchadnezzar refused to acknowledge before. But after that 7 years, after those years, he said that your rulership is everlasting life, everlasting rulership, and your kingdom is for generation after generation. So Nebuchadnezzar is an history today. It's not living, but God is still living. His kingdom is there. So who is the better person to tell you not to be afraid? God. So whatever the man can do to you to destroy you, to do everything, they themselves is going to die. They're not going to live 50 years from now or 80 years from now because their age. So they put this fear in us to make us to compromise our faith to do this. So but Nebuchadnezzar acknowledged all this after. And he go on to say that all the inhabitants of the earth are regarded as nothing, and it does according to his own will among the armies of heavens and the inhabitants of the earth, and there is no one who can hinder him or say to him, "What have you done?" That's what Nebuchadnezzar said. That all the inhabitants, everybody that is living on this earth, there's nothing that are regarded as nothing compared to God. Nothing. We're like a dust in a scale. Doesn't weigh nothing. Just as the air, just as the heaven is greater, higher than the earth, so God's wisdom is greater than us. No matter the AI technology, talk about high definition, IO, Internet of Things, whatever they develop, their wisdom is nothing compared to God. We are nothing to God. And God does not owe anybody an explanation. He's not obligated to do anything to you. So you can't say, God, I command you. No, you don't do that. You're not obligated, because look at Nebuchadnezzar said. He said it. Nebuchadnezzar was a king who claimed himself as a powerful king. He said, and no one can hinder him or ask him, "What have you done?" No, no one. So, do you have the trait? Do you have the traits of Nebuchadnezzar within you? Are you oppressive? Do you think the position you own is forever? Do you care for people? Do you put fear in them? Because people begin to think that God wants you to serve Him because of fear. No, God wants you to serve because of love and of not fear. You don't have to put fear into people's heart that if you don't serve God, you're going to go to this place where you're going to be burning, burning, burning forever. No, God doesn't do that. Doesn't want you to serve Him. Don't put fear in you. So ask yourself today, am I Nebuchadnezzar in human form in today as a wife? Did you see because you have this opportunity, you have this privilege, did you oppress your husband? Do you treat your husband because he doesn't have the capacity to take care of the family? That you have the big job, you're the CEO, you're the director, you can say what you have to say without consideration. You can put fear in him that, oh, we're going to divorce you, you're not going to get nothing. You bring it to oppress him because he's a different person. Some likewise, the man. Do you do the same thing to your wife? Do you oppress him? Do you obey her? Do you talk down on her? Do you feel like she's nothing to you? She don't have any say? Did you feel like your power is unlimited? Just think about it. Your child, children, did you feel you're an adult now? You don't listen to your dad? You're the new Jay-Z, right? This is my dad is an old school. We don't do this right here. But remember, the first commandment with a promise in Ephesians 6 said, honor your father and your mother so your days will be long. This is the first, not second. This is the first commandment with a promise. And God said that God who cannot lie, He never promised a faith. So if you look at young people dying today, who doesn't care about life, who feel like this is my life, I'm the new Jay-Z, and I do the best thing. Technologies is fine, but the principle is principle. Do what is supposed to be done. So don't disregard. Don't feel like you are the new Nebuchadnezzar now. Nobody can tell you anything. So proud of yourself. Yeah, your dad didn't go to school. Now you're a doctor. You are this. You know better than everybody. You're the smartest person. You don't want to take an advice. Education is good. They put you right there. But do you know that that position, whatever you're doing now, has a limit? It's not forever. So how well do you live? Do you contribute to the fear of the world? Do you put fear in people's heart and mind? So that is what we're looking at right now. But look at the assurance that we got because facing all these challenges, front and back, if we sleep, we don't know whether we're going to get up again. That's fear. We're afraid of life. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. It makes us to feel that our life is in jeopardy. But look at what Deuteronomy said. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid and do not panic before them. For the Lord your God will personally go ahead of you. He would never fail you or abandon you. So just look at that. Deuteronomy 36 verse 31 verse 6 emphasize in spite of all of these challenges, problems, right, back, front, up and downs, but there's a strong reassurance. And somebody who gave that reassurance is what we're talking about. Because the king is going to die, president is going to die, but the person that never died, that is a living God, is giving you this strong conviction, hope. Say, listen, I know, I understand there's problem here and there, but this is what I'm telling you today. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid and do not panic before them. Do not panic before the problems that we have right there. In those times, it was through the pharaohs. Do not panic about what's going to happen or what is happening right now or what is going to happen in the future. Do not panic. Give that comedy, that reassuring words, strong and courageous. And also, say, for the Lord your God will personally, this Bible translation, you use it, that for your Lord your God will personally go ahead of you. Now, the Israelites at that time, the Egyptians were chasing them. Say, God will personally go ahead of you and he will never fail you or abandon you. Just imagine you passing through a strong situation and somebody called you, say, you're my friend, you know, I'm going to assure you that I will never abandon you. I'm going to be there for you no matter what happens. And he has been doing that for you. So you will believe to trust him. And Psalm 56, verse 3 says, what time I'm afraid? The time I'm afraid, I will trust in you. So if you're afraid, the time you're afraid, who will you be? Who will you call? God. But listen, look at what Daniel did. Daniel was not just praying because Nebuchadnezzar or the king said, I'm going to put you in the lion's den. This is a routine that Daniel already have. He has been praying to God consistently and constantly. So it wasn't a new thing to Daniel. So if you think you're going to be able to pray when there's situation, you pray when there's only situation, that's when you can remember God, you're wasting time. Your words will be heavy. You can't even express yourself. But if it's something you do every time on a regular basis, before you eat, before you go to bed, you pray on a regular occasion in a meeting, it becomes part of you. When situations are bad, your energy may be low, but you still be able to intensify and pray because that prayer will energize you. Because sometimes when things happen really bad, you may be weak. But even just saying a little prayer, God will understand. God will going to reinforce you, going to comfort you, going to empower you. So don't be like a person that never call you or never talk to you for 15 years or 18 years. When the person has a problem, this is when they're going to remember you. Don't do that. Try to create that relationship. Try to get close to God and he will draw close to you. So that's one of those things. And if you look at these, the Bible also mentions that be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God will goes with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. So during your fear, during your troubles, he assures you, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to make you to pass through this. I'm not going to leave you in the middle of this problem because I will never forsake you or leave you. You know, sometimes you're trying to help someone and you go to the middle, you say, man, boy, I'm tired. I can't continue this. So I'm just trying to help you, but well, I'm going to take for myself. I'm going to leave. You leave, you abandon the person. Like the person you have this car, Like some people since I remember somebody was driving his girlfriend and the car got broke down. They were trying. Okay, the guy said, "Yeah, I love you. I'll never leave you." And he tried to push, help the guy to push the car somewhere. I said, "This," I said, "No, I can't do this." He stays. He just saw another car, and she jumped on the car and left. But God is not like that. It can put to the both way. The men can abandon you. They're your friends. They try to help, but they try to help, but they're not going to stay there. But this person, God is saying, I'm not going to abandon you or forsake you. I'm going to be there all the way. So it is very important to take it so serious and see that God will elevate, exalt us if we are humble. If we don't have that spirit of Nebuchadnezzar to say who is God. Sometimes we may not just say who is God, or God, I don't fear you, I don't know, but our action, our careers, our words, and our prayers. If we don't have that relationship with God, we are too preoccupied with certain things that make us to forget God. We are behaving like Nebuchadnezzar. We are doing this. So I want to reassure everything that what lies ahead may be greater, may be challenging, it may not be bright, it may be blink, it may be like a lot of things. It's going to just a lot of ground is going to open up and swallow a lot of us. But irrespective of what the great tribulation that lies ahead, we should not be afraid. We should give it cause to be uh, to be to be thankful that we have somebody who promised us that is going to go before us. Is not going to forsake us or leave us. So let us have that reassurance. They have that confidence that God is with us and He will always be with us. Because without Him, we are nothing. He's living. You see, whatever we're reading today, experiences, examples of great scientists or Bible characters, those people, their history, they're dead. But God is still living. He created those things for us so that we can learn that He's still powerful, He's still in our life. And He also promised the resurrection time. So let's just look to the future with confidence, with optimism, with a heart prepared, with a heart full of courage and belief, faith that God will not abandon us, that God is with us all the way. If we do that, our pain will be temporary because what happens is that whatever we're passing through right now, there's a solution, a endless solution that God has made for us. It's not a temporary measure, it's going to be a permanent solution. So let's us always remember that we don't need to be afraid of what lies ahead. There's a lot of things that people are not going to tell you. Technology is not going to help you. All the technology doesn't prevent hurricane. It make life to say that you like to be comfortable. There's these things, a lot of things are going to happen that can shake the world like nobody expected the COVID-19. I remember I was walking the street. It was a ghost town. People who knows how busy the highways, the hold ups that we have in Atlanta, you stay on the traffic. But then I I was sitting in the street, in the middle of the street. I sat down, was looking, no cars. I was like wondering, wow, nobody ever envisaged this, that this thing will ever happen. Yes, there may be a greater one that's going to come. The fear, what we're going to do. So, was all of these things that happen today that testament that God never failed, that God is living, is a living God. So, having said that, and I thank you guys for listening, it is good for us to have that strong confidence that God will never abandon us. He's going to stay with us and going to give us a better world to come because His kingdom is everlasting. His rulership is everlasting. Just know that. And it's only God's kingdom that will solve mankind's problem permanently, forever. King Nebuchadnezzar attested to that. He said it with his mouth. That's only God alone, that all of us inhabitants, we are nothing to Him. That His kingship, His rulership is forever and He lives forever. So please, again, thank you so much for listening your time to listen to this wonderful um, message so that can help us to remain strong and prepare that whatever happen in the future, that God will never abandon us and God will always be with us. Thank you so much and stay and enjoy the weekend, okay? Have a nice night.